today's, for recording purposes, this is an introduction to AdMath, which is math on steroids, okay? So here's the premise of the game, the rules of the game, right? I know some of you all played this game last year with me, right? The premise is this. In each scenario, you are about to die at a certain point in time. It have different errors and whatnot, right? So the year is 1305 AD. That's quite a long time ago. And you lay wounded after a great battle. You are about to die. Death himself, you see Mr. Skeleton there, Death appears and he offers you a chance to live if you play his wonderful game. So here's what you guys need to do, right? You all are going to have on your piece of paper, everybody is going to choose a number between 1 and 9. Write it down, choose a number between 1 and 9. 1 and 9 is included. I will play with you all also. So I am going to choose 6. So everybody choose a number between 1 and 9. Then choose a letter between A and Z. I'm going to choose R. You choose whichever letter you want, and then choose one of the colors. So it's a number, a letter, and then a color. I'm going to choose green. So everybody send their choices on the chat. Write it in one line. A number, any number between 1 and 9. You're just choosing 1, right? 1, 2, 9, 1 and 9 included. Any letter from A to Z and one color. And send me your choice on the chat. Yes, now. All right, so you notice he has 3 orbs in front of you. 3 orbs, right? Let me write down my choices here. I was 6R, and my color was what? My color was green. So if any of my choices appear, I die. Let's see the first choice. In the first orb, 3 and 4 appear. Is anybody out of the game? If anybody chose 3 or 4, you're out. You go to the afterlife. So if you did not choose 3 or 4, you have survived. Let's check the letter. Anybody chose P, K, S, or Z? Those are the unlucky letters. If you chose any of those letters, you are out of the game. Anybody still in the game? You have one more hurdle to overcome. All right, let's see the last one, the color. Hey, I won. I made it through. I chose 6R and green, and none of my chosen stuff appeared. So I survived. Any survivors out there? Let me know. So that's how you play the game, right? So you all get the idea. You hope none of your choices appear. All right, so congratulations to those who survived. Let's move on. All right, so how do you become good at AdMaths? Like I mentioned, AdMaths is maths on steroids. In my experience, there are 4 topics you need to be very, very good at. Simultaneous equations, solving, sketching, and interpreting quadratics. In other words, you need to know quadratics inside out for AdMaths, expanding brackets, and then finally solving something called quadratic simultaneous equations. We are going to start off with number 1 first, the one in blue, solving simultaneous equations. Now, I know a lot of you out here probably have a decent idea of how to solve a simultaneous equation, but can you do it underneath a minute? You see, in AdMaths, most questions end up, they will start off as something else, a different topic, but it will boil down to, at the end of the question, to be a simultaneous equation. And if you're not good at simultaneous equations or you can't do it quickly, you're going to fail your AdMaths exam. So let me know in the chat, right? Which method did you all learn, or methods did you all learn in school to solve simultaneous equations? And there are many different ways. It have elimination, substitution, graphs, matrices. Or in a better question is, which method is your favorite method? Because there are more than one ways to solve a simultaneous equation. Question. Right. Now, I kind of laid it out already. Here's what I need for everyone to do. I want you to take down this pair of simultaneous equations. Don't do it. I want to guide you through it because there are more than one ways to do it using the substitution method. And I want you all to stick to my method. In a simultaneous equations, you will always be given two equations. You notice you have equation 1 and equation 2. You will notice that you have two types of letters. The two types of letters are X and Y. Your job is to solve for X and to also solve for Y. So take down the two equations, label it equation 1 and 2. Do not do the question. Wait on me and let me know when you are ready. Right? I want to do the first one with you. All right. So as I mentioned, in a simultaneous equation, there are two equations. You cannot deal with two equations at the same time. It's not a good idea to deal with more than one equations at a time in maths, right? It's a really, really bad idea. So you either have to choose equation 1 or you have to choose equation 2 first. The truth is, it doesn't really matter if you choose equation 1 first, and it really doesn't matter if you choose equation 2 first. Your working will look different depending on which one you choose, but here's the magical part. You will get the same answer no matter which one you choose first. But in my class, I always want you to choose which one first? Equation 1. And I have the note here. Everyone write down this note over here. You are going to choose equation 1 and make X the subject and simplify it as much as you can and call it equation 3. Just take down the note. Once again, do not go ahead and do the question. Take down the note and pause. I have something to explain about it. We have just decided to choose equation 1 first. So I'm going to write back equation 1 exactly as it is. I'm not going to change anything. 4x plus 6y is equal to 40. Now, whenever we choose equation 1, it have two letters, right? It have the letter x and the letter y. Look at there, 4x and 6y. We have to make a choice. We're either going to choose to make x the subject or make y the subject. It's really up to you. It doesn't matter if you make x the subject or you make y the subject. Anyone will give you the correct answer. But I want everyone to have the same exact working. So guess who we are going to make the subject? Well, it's in the note here. We are always going to choose equation 1 and make who the subject? X. Which means we have to get X on one side and everyone else on the other side. Now, this is where I'm going to make the assumption that everybody knows how to make something the subject, because this is part of regular boring maths. And if you cannot make something the subject, no problem. After class, I can show you some videos on how to make X the subject. But let's make X the subject. To make X the subject, we have to get X alone, keyword X alone on one side and everyone else on the other side. Remember in maths, when you take something from one side of the equal sign and throw it across, you always get the opposite. So we're going to take positive 6y and throw him across. When you throw across positive 6y, we're going to get minus 6y. Everyone take down up to there. So this is what we have so far. 4x. Remember, if we throw across the positive 6y, who's alone on this side now? Only 4x. We have 40 minus 6y. Take down up to there. Right? And don't worry if you don't get it on the first run. I have 3 examples. So you all know me by now. I do more than 1 examples, right? So don't freak out if you don't understand it the first rounds. All right. Tell me something. Have I made X the subject so far? Have I made X the subject? No. Because making X the subject means you want X alone on this side. I have 4X. 4x is not x alone. We need to get rid of Mr. 4. So this 4, anytime in maths you have a number and a letter touching, it's a secret multiply. Now, this is positive 4, right? Because whenever you don't see a sign touching a value, it's automatically positive, right? So we're going to throw across positive 4, which is a multiply. Now, the last person to throw across, when you throw them across, they will always be a multiply. So when you throw it across, it will become a divide, because the opposite of a multiply is a divide. How much people are waiting on this side? You have two items, right? You have 40 and minus 6y. Who gets divided by the 4? The 40 or the 6y? Who gets divided by the 4? The 40 or the minus 6y? It's a trick question. Some of you all know my tricks already. If there are two items waiting on this side, both of them get divided by 4. It's a trick question. If you had 1,000,000 items waiting on that side, all 1,000,000 of them individually, one by one, would get divided by that 4. We have to simplify it now. Now we're almost done with equation 3. Look at it. X alone is on this side now because we threw across 4. Let's simplify it now. How much is 40 divided by 4? 10. And I want everyone to use decimals. How much is 6 divided by 4? Send it as a decimal on your calculator. How much is 6 divided by... We're not going to use fractions. I despise fractions. I like decimals. It's 1.5, right? Try it out. Some of you, I think you need to type it on your calculator. 6 divided by 4 is 1.5. And please don't forget to put back Mr. Y. This is equation 3. That is how we get equation 3. We always choose equation 1 and make x the subject. And after we simplify it, we call that equation 3. Right? So we're going to continue now. So here's what we're going to do. According to the blue note, we are going to substitute equation 3 into equation 2. Now, let me explain what this equation means in basic English. X equal to something, x equal to 10 minus 1.5y, means that x has the same exact value as 10 minus 1.5y. Let me put that in a realistic scenario. Everybody knows 4.25 cents is the same thing as $1. So let's say you have $1 in your hand, a red $1 paper note. If I grab that $1 from your hand and replace it with 4.25 cents, technically you're not supposed to get angry because I didn't rob you. I just exchanged the $1 with 4.25 cents. Both have the same exact value. It's the same concept here. We are going to take equation 3 and walk towards equation 2. And in equation 2, wherever you see the letter X, look at have a letter X here, we are going to throw him away and replace him with 10 minus 1.5y. But in maths, when you replace somebody, you have to put it in brackets. So I have my notes up here already prepared. I have 5, that's this 5 here. And I'm going to throw away this X and replace him with what? 10 minus 1.5y. Let me write it in. But you notice X used to live here in this brackets. I threw him away and replaced him with something of equivalent value, the value in equation 3. But I replaced it in brackets. And then I write back the rest of the equation. Positive 3y is equal to 41. Everyone take down this and take down the yellow note underneath. We're going to use basic maths now to expand the brackets and solve for y. Right, so take a few seconds there. All right, so I just cleared up one thing. This is how, when we substituted 2 into equation 3, look, equation 3 here, I replaced the letter y with 2. And when we worked it out, we got x is 7. Now, right? The question changed. I'm going to give everybody a 2-3 minutes. Even if you're a little shaky on it, see how much you can remember, follow my instructions, and let's just see how much you can get out in about 2 to 3 minutes. Good luck. You don't have to worry about getting it wrong. This is just our second example. Just try. I prefer you try and get it wrong rather than just sit down and say, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. Try it, right? I don't really care if you get it wrong. I just want you to try. So we're given 2 equations once again. And our job is to solve for the value of x and to solve for the value of y. According to my instructions in class, we always choose which equation first? Equation 1. And we always make who the subject? X. So let's do that. I'm going to write back equation 1. Not going to change anything. 2x plus 4y is equal to 26. I haven't changed a single thing. I'm going to make who the subject x, which means I want x on one side and everyone else on the other side. So I grab the positive 4y and I throw him across on the other side. In maths, when you throw something across, one thing, only one thing will become the opposite. In this case here, the positive 4y becomes minus 4y. So this is what we have so far. 2x is equal, remember the 2x's on this side is equal to 26 minus 4y. We still have to get rid of Mr. 2 because we want x alone. Now this 2, how he's next to the x? There's a secret multiply. In maths, when you throw across a multiply, it becomes the opposite, a divide. But the sign remains the same. You see how he is positive 2? When he becomes a divide on this side, he remains positive 2. That's a general rule in maths, right? Whenever something becomes a divide, the sign remains the same. I think it's best if I simplify this. 26 divided by 2 is 13. Minus 4 divided by 2. Well, 4 divided by 2 is 2. And don't forget to put y. Did everybody, how much people got equation 3 correct? I mean, everything correct. 13 minus 2y. Right. So if you reach, even if you didn't get it, see if you can follow through my working and see where you made a mistake. Right. So we're going to move on to the next step now. We're going to move on to the next step, which is the blue step here, right? We're going to substitute equation 3 into equation 2. So here's what. We're going to take equation 3 and run back to equation 2. And when we run to equation 2, wherever we see the letter x, we're going to throw him away and replace him with 13 minus 2y, but put him in brackets. By the way, you see how you have minus 3x and then you have a y? In maths, if you have a letter by himself, you see how this y is by himself? What value is automatically touching the y? In maths, it's 1, right? So y is the same thing as 1y. Yeah? Look at over here, putting it in. The examiner will not put it in for you. You have to put it in, okay? So let's run back to equation 3. I have it lined up, equation 2, sorry, and I have it lined up here already. Let me get a different color, red. I'm going to replace this x with what? 13 minus 2y. 13 minus 2y. And I write back the positive 1y and the minus 4. X used to live here, but he has been replaced by 13 minus 2y. The next step now is to multiply out the brackets. Minus 3 multiplied by 13, you can check it on the calculator, is minus 39. Minus 3 multiplied by minus 2y is positive 6y. And then we write back the positive 1y is equal to minus 4. Take it from here, guys. I want you to solve for y now. Keep all the y's on one side and everyone else on the other side. So take a minute to solve for y. That minus 39, I think we need to throw him across, right? Because he doesn't have a y. Throw across minus 39, you're going to get positive what? 39. 6y plus 1y is 7y. Minus 4 plus 39. You can check it on the calculator. Remember, this is not 4. This is minus 4. Minus 4 plus 39 is positive 35 on your calculator. We still have to solve for y. This 7 is touching the y, so he's a multiply. When you throw across a multiply, you get a divide. How much is 35 divided by 7? 5. How much people got 5 for y? We almost finished. Remember, the aim of a simultaneous equation is to solve for x and to solve for y. We have just solved for y. So we still have to solve for x. So I've given everybody a few seconds now. Follow the instructions of the purple instructions here. Take the answer you just get, which is y is equal to 5, and run back to equation 3 and see if we could substitute and solve for x now. Is that coming up? So we're going to run back to equation 3. Well, I have equation 3 here, so I'll run it back, right? X is equal to 13 minus 2. And look at the letter y here. And we could throw away Mr. Y and put what in its place? 5. Because we now know the value of y is 5. But we're going to put it in brackets. 2 by 5 is 10, right? So I think everyone knows like 2 multiplied by 5 is 10, right? So x is what? 13 minus 10. How much is 13 minus 10? 3. We finished. X is equal to 3. So if somebody asks you, hey, what's the solutions of the simultaneous equation? You say, well, x is 3 and y is 5. Right? Somebody put minus 3 by mistake. It's positive 3. All right. So I think a lot of y'all, you're probably feeling a little, you probably need a little brain relaxer here, right? To shake off the stress. So here's the new scenario. The year is 3708 BC. So this is like prehistoric time. So closely. And you and your tribe went hunting on the African plains, and you were attacked by a lion and left for dead. So your tribe abandoned you. That's your hand there. Death appears and says, I will give you a chance to live. So you all know how to play the game. Choose a number between 1 and 9. 1 and 9 is included. Then choose a letter, any letter in the alphabet, and then choose one of the colors. I'm going to play with you guys also. I'm going to choose 4, K, and my color is going to be orange. So I'm going to write down my choice. Let me know in the chat now. I really, really like to hear what you guys choose. So I chose 4, K, and orange, right? Guys, you don't have to copy my one because you might think I know the answers, but I made these games so long ago, I can't remember what's the correct combinations. So I'm honestly playing fairly. All right. So let's see the first orb. Anybody was unlucky to choose 605. If you chose 605, you're out of the game. You go to the afterlife. I am still in because I chose number 4. So I'm on the right path. Let's see the next one. M, R, E, or G. Those are the unlucky letters. I'm still in the game. No, I'm out of the game. R call, and I chose R. So that's it. I die. I go to the afterlife. Last, the unlucky colors are green and yellow. Did anybody survive? Remember, you have to survive all 3 orbs, right? So once none of your items appeared, you live and you get another chance to experience life. Right? So while you're, I'm just going to play the music again. I like the music. Right. People on YouTube, how did it go? Did yours live or not? All right, let's move on. Let's move on. All right, so you all gonna try this question. Now, there's a slight trick in this question. Now, let me just point out the tricks, right? I put some decimals. Don't worry, it's okay to divide by a decimal. You have calculators, right? For example, how much is 7 divided by 0.5? Type that in on the calculator. You're typing in the top number first, and it's most people just not accustomed dividing by a decimal, but nothing is wrong with that. You have a calculator. Make sure you see this on the calculator, right? 7 divided by 0.5 is 14. Right? Make sure you see the 14, right? So it is possible to divide by a decimal. So anyway, guys, oh, and notice in the equation below, it doesn't have any numbers by the x and the y. So this is really -1 and 1y. The examiner will not put it in for you. So here, what, 5 minutes, guys. I know you're ready, so it's take a minute to do it, but today is the first class. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to try to do this question. And once again, I only care about the attempt. You get it wrong, you get it wrong. Not a problem. Just try. You're going to have whole week to rectify that problem. Whole week, right? So by now, we know we choose an equation 1, right? So follow tick by him there. Writing back equation 1. Not going to change a thing about it. Nothing, right? So we said we will always choose equation 1, even though equation 1 has a decimal. So what? Number calculators are there to make our lives easier. And we are going to first throw across Mr. Positive 7y. Throw him across, you get -7y. So this is what we have so far. 0.5x is equal to 8 minus 7y. But x is still not the subject. We have to make x the subject. So that 0.5 is the problem. This 0.5, who is touching the x, is a secret. Multiply. When you throw across the multiply, what do we get again, guys? Divide. If you look at all the examples before, you will get what? A divide. Both items here get divided by 0.5, both of them. And this is where I showed you how to divide on your calculator, right? Now, I see some of you are doing it wrong side, right? Remember, if the 8 is on top, you press the 8 first and then divide. 8 divided by 0.5, I'm sure is 16, minus 7 divided by 0.5 is 14, and don't forget to put back Mr. Y. How much people got up to there? Look for your mistakes if you didn't. Right. If you got up to here only, still take it as a win. Still take it as a win in today's class, right? You take in anything, right? Right? Right. So take it up to there, right? Right. Oh, let me just give you a little jump start here, right? You're going to, this is equation 3, right? So we're going to substitute it into equation 2. So run to equation 2 now. And just one small slight adjustment. I'm gonna, you see how I put in the ones here? I didn't put it in over here, right? So this is the 1 here, that is this one, and the 1 by the y. That's so we remember that it's 1y and minus 1x. Continue, right? Remember, type it in on a calculator. 8 divided by 0.5 is 16. You can try it. All I did was type it in on my calculator. 8 divided by 0.5 is 16. All right. So we're gonna we go over here and replace the x with what? 16 minus 14y. 16 minus 14y. And then I put back the positive 1y is equal to minus 6. Now we have to expand the brackets and simplify. Everyone in the brackets gets multiplied by who? Minus 1. Minus 1 multiplied by positive 16 is minus 16. Minus 1 multiplied by minus 14. When you multiply 2 minus, you're going to get what? A positive. Then you put back the positive 1y and the minus 6. Let's solve for y. This minus 16 does not have a y. Throw it across and you get what? Positive 16. 14y plus 1y is 15y. Minus 6 plus 16. I guarantee if you type it in, don't forget the minus sign. You're going to get positive 10. We want to solve for y. This 15 is a multiply. Throw it across. You're going to get what? A divide. How much is 10 divided by 15? Oh no, we got a decimal. We got 2/3 or 0.666666. I like to go to 2 decimal places, so it's 0.67. It's always a good idea to go to 2 decimal places, right? No, I know I'm going to get the question. Is it okay to go to 1? No, not in odd maths. You have to at least go to 2 decimal places. That's the rules, right? So how much, if you left it as 2/3, it's still correct. If you put 0.67, it's still correct. So how much people got up to there for y? Y is you can leave it as a fraction or a decimal. We have just solved for y. So now it's time to run. Look at the instructions here. Run to equation 3. And replace y in brackets with what? I'm replacing it with 0.67. Like I said, I don't like fractions. I'm using the decimals. On my calculator, how much is 14 multiplied by 0.67 after multiply this here? 14 multiplied by 0.67. I get a 9.38. I'm finishing it up over here, right? 16 minus 9.38. 16 minus 9.38. Anybody got close to this? 6.62. Like I said, and guys, I'm using the decimal. If you choose to use the fraction, you'll get a slightly different answer. Right? All right. So we just did some revision on simultaneous equations. To be good at AdMaths, you need to know simultaneous equations inside out. But you have to be able to solve something called a quadratic. So we're going to concentrate on solving quadratics. So everyone take down that topic. The 2 things are on the line. In your books, put solving quadratics. Even if you don't know what a quadratic is, I'm going to give you a brief introduction to what a quadratic looks like and to be able to solve it. Now, most people, when we're solving a quadratic, you're just going to learn a technique. You are not going to learn how, like, what solving a quadratic is. Like, how can it be used in real life? Well, not today, actually. I just want you to be able to solve a quadratic. That is my aim today, right? So just to be able to do it, and then I'll show you how to apply it later on. Let's move on. Solving quadratics. So what is a quadratic? Well, a quadratic is a very special equation in maths, and it's real easy to identify. All quadratics have an x squared in it. Look at it, 3x squared, a x, a regular boring x without a squared, and then something without an x. So it's real easy to pinpoint a quadratic in maths. Just look for the x squared, a regular boring x, and then something without x. And if you see those things, He is a quadratic equation. Now, quadratic equations have special parts. Whoever is touching x squared, you call them A. Whoever is touching x, you call them B. And whoever doesn't have an x, you call them what? C. Okay? Now, all A, B, and C all have what? Signs. If I ask you what's the value of A, what's the correct way to respond to that question? Is it okay to say A is positive 3? Or is it okay to say A is positive 3x squared? In other words, when I ask you for the value of A, do you have to say the x squared part? Or do you just call the number touching x squared? What's the correct way? Because people mix that up. You only call the number. A is positive 3. End of story. If I ask you what's the value of A, and you say positive 3x squared, like you say x squared, it's wrong. A is just who is touching the x squared. The same thing goes with B. What's the value of B? B is just positive 4. You don't say the letter X. B is just positive 4. And well, C is how much? Positive 8. Now you notice when I'm calling the values of A, B, and C, I'm specifying the sign. If it's positive, I respect it and say, hey, you are positive so and so. If it was negative, I would say negative so and so. Always call the sign. So do me a favor, write this down, circle exactly who's A, circle who is exactly is B, and circle who exactly is C, and write A, B, and C on top of it. Right? 20 seconds, and we're moving on. Go. All right. So here we have our first quadratic, and I'm going to show you how to solve it. Now, to solve a quadratic, there's a formula you have to memorize in maths, right? But actually, they give it on the formula sheet, but for term test, they won't give you the formula. You have to memorize it. First of all, is this a quadratic equation? 3x squared minus 5x minus 12. Is that a quadratic equation? Yes. Okay. So let me just put in the sign by the 3 here, right? Whoever touching x squared is A, whoever touching x is B, and everyone else is C. I'm going to circle A, B, and C. Now, in the exam, I physically want you to circle A, B, and C, and you're circling the signs associated with the value. So I'm circling this. Whoever touching x squared is A, so A is positive 3. Whoever is touching x is what? B. So B is minus 5. And C is minus 12. You see, I didn't leave out the signs. You had to have respect for the signs. The sign is part of the number. Everyone do that for me. And I have like 4 examples. So guys, if you don't catch it on the first run, don't worry. Just sit back and you'll get more examples. When we are solving a quadratic, we usually get 2 answers. So at the end of this question, we're supposed to get 2 answers. And I'm going to show you how to get the 2 answers. So let's do the substitution. Right. The first part of the question says minus B. How much is B? I'm going to put the value of B in this blue square, obviously, because that's where B is supposed to go. Now, B is negative 5. You notice the formula, when you buy it, it comes with a free minus sign here. So when I put B here, do you all think 2 minus signs would end up touching? Because the formula came with a minus sign, and then they told us B is minus 5. So sometimes when you use the formula, 2 negative signs will do what? Come together and touch. In maths, when 2 minus signs touch, what do you get? This is the right time to say what? Positive. When 2 minus signs directly come in contact with each other, you get a what? Positive. So I replace this B with minus 5. This b here, I have this b in brackets, I have to replace it with minus 5 also. I'm throwing away this b and I'm replacing it with minus 5. Minus open brackets 4. 4 is part of the formula. It will always be there. What's the value of a? We have to take 4 and multiply it by a. In today's question, a is 3. I'm not going to put the positive sign, right? I'm just going to put 3 because we know if we don't put the sign, it's automatically positive. How much is c? C is minus 12. And underneath is 2 multiplied by a. 2 is part of the formula. And how much is a? A is 3. Everyone take down up to there. All I did was take the letters, throw them away, and replace them with the values given in the question. It's just a replacement. A lot of people think they can type in this whole thing straight on a calculator. That is madness. Don't ever do that. We have to work it out in parts. Some parts are easy to work out, right? Help me out here. Minus 5 is how much? Isn't that positive 5? You don't even have to put it positive because if you don't put it positive, you'll get what? It's automatically positive, right? So minus and a minus. Who can tell me what the underneath works out to? 2 multiplied by 3. And we can do that in our head. That's 6, right? So look at it. We work out this part. We work out this part. Let's work out the part underneath the square root sign now. Now, here's the thing. Whatever we get underneath the square root sign, we have to square root it, right? So let's work out. One thing I want to point out, right? In maths, when you square anything in the world, a lot of people think minus 5 squared is minus 25. That's 100% wrong. Eh? When you square anything in the world, it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. You get positive. So minus 6 squared is positive 36. Minus 4 squared is still positive 16. I know some of you all are going to try it on your calculator, right? And your calculator will say, well, if I take minus 5 and square it, my calculator is showing me minus 25. Therefore, still wrong. You are typing it wrong on your calculator. On your Casios, if you have a Casio calculator, if you type in minus 5 squared, you will see minus 25. Not because the calculator wrong, you know, because you type it in wrong. On Casio calculators, if you are squaring a negative, you have to put it in brackets on the calculator. Close the brackets and then square it. And you will realize you get positive 25. So take my word for it, right? When you square anything in the world, you get a positive value. So let's work this out here, guys. Okay? Just give me a few seconds. I'm not taking any questions right now, right? I need to concentrate on this. So focus, right? Minus 5 squared is how much? Positive 25. I just showed you that, right? Minus 5 squared is positive 25. According to the formula, you have what here? A minus sign. Let's work out the brackets now. Could you all help me work out what's inside the brackets? How much is 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by minus 12? Type in that straight on your calculator. 4 by 3 multiplied not by 12, but by minus 12. 4 by 3 by minus 12. Right? If you are getting an error, you are not using your calculator correct, right? Different calculators have different ways of typing in a negative. But we could do this by in our heads if we wanted to. N4 by 3 is 12, and 12 by 12 is 144. You notice you have a negative, a positive, and a negative is a negative. So inside the brackets, you will get negative 144, right? Great. We're not finished yet. All we did was work out the part underneath the square root. How much is 25 minus 144? Remember, this minus sign came with the formula, the first minus sign. When two minus signs about to touch and you get a positive. So how much is 25 plus 144? You're going to end up with 25 plus 144. And you're getting 169. So I'm writing it in pink here, right? When you work out the piece underneath the square root sign, you get 169. Square root 169 now. How much is the square root of 169? Because when we work out the piece underneath the square root, we got 169. Square root 169. We get 13. So this scary part here boils down to 13, right? So let's simplify this, right? This is what we have so far, right? And let's gain some space over here. Outside here, we have positive 5, well, 5. After the positive 5, we have plus or minus. When we worked out the scary part, after we square rooted, we got 13. And the whole thing is divided by what? 2 by 3 is 6. That scary formula boils down to this. Now, I know the next question. What about that positive living on top of the negative? Or you pay attention for this, right? I'm not going to be able to say this too much times, right? It takes a lot out of me to repeat things over and over. So focus. You have a positive living on top of a negative. We are going to pay attention to the positive sign first, and then we are going to pay attention to the negative sign. All right? Oh, by the way, I have this space here. Sorry. We have 5 plus or minus 13 divided by 6. Sorry, I forgot to put a space over there for it. So we are going to pay attention to the positive first and then the negative. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to say 5 plus 13, ignore the negative, 5 plus 13, and then divided by what? 6. I'm going to write what I just said there. We're going to take 5, pay attention to the add 13, and how much we're going to do? Divide by 6. Then we are going to say 5 minus 13. In other words, pay attention to the negative now. Ignore the positive. 5 minus 13, and then we divide it by 6. Remember we said when we solve a quadratic, we're going to get 2 answers. But this is how you get your 2 answers. The positive will give you 1 answer. And when you pay attention to the negative, you will get the next answer. However, on your calculator, if you say 5 plus 13 and you press divide by 6, you will get the wrong answer. Let me explain why. Don't you want to divide the whole top by 6? You want to divide the 5 plus the 13 and divide that whole thing by 6. Your calculator will not understand that. You have to put the whole top in brackets. That's the only way the calculator will know, hey, I'm dividing the whole top by 6. And the same thing for the negative. If you want the calculator to minus the whole top first and then divide it by 6, you have to put the top in brackets. All calculators will misinterpret that, whether it's a Sharp or a Casio. So do you all think you all can finish the question for me? To get the first answer, type in this exactly as it is on the calculator. And to get the second answer, type in this exactly as it is on your calculator. Right? Right? Remember the square root of 1. Remember, when we worked out this part here, we got 169. I showed you all here, 25 plus this is 169. But it didn't have a big square root sign here. So when we get the 169, we square root it. The square root of 169 is 13. 5 plus 13 divided by 6. That's all right. 5 plus 13 divided by 6. Anybody got 3 for the first answer? I see a lot of people send 3 on the chat, right? Next one, 5 minus 13 in brackets divided by 6. Minus 1.33 or minus 1 1/3 is reoccurring, right? You might want to put a dot on top if it's reoccurring. And that's it. We just solved our first quadratic. Try this question, guys. Doesn't matter if you get it wrong, right? You just try your best. Circle A, B, and C, throw it into the formula, and let's just see what you get. Let's just see. All right, so we're going to substitute the A, the B, and the C in here. Remember, B today is positive 3. Now, the formula comes with a free minus sign. You can't help that. But B is positive 3. In maths, when a minus and a positive touch, you ultimately get a minus. For those who don't know, when a negative touches a positive, you ultimately get a negative. In brackets, well, I know the last formula had this in brackets. I forgot to put it in. B is how much? Positive 3. Minus sign here. A is how much? A is another 4, so we have 2 4s. Nothing wrong with that. And C is minus 28. And A is how much? A is 4, right? I hope I have it correct there. How much people have up to there? Like, you actually did the substitution part correct. Right. I do the easy part for you here, right? Now, you're getting minus 3 on the outside here, because a minus and a positive is a negative. And 2 by 4 is what? 8. All right? I need for you all to work out the part underneath the square root sign and square root it. If you get a decimal, don't let it bug you, Just round off the decimal to 2 decimal places. That's all I ask you. You will get decimals in the exams, right? Most of the times you don't get nice whole values. You'll get decimals, and I get accustomed with it. Let's work out this piece underneath the square root sign. 3 squared is 9. Everybody knows that. It have a minus sign here. It's going to write it back. 4 by 4 is 16. 16 by minus 28. Anybody getting minus 448? 4 by 4 is 16. 16 by 28 is 448. And well, yeah, it have a negative here. So a positive and a negative is what? A negative. What's going to happen here? These two negative signs are going to touch. So you're going to end up with what? 9 plus 448. I'm getting this underneath the square root sign. 4, 5, 7. And then what we have to do with that? We have to square root 4, 5, 7. Sorry for the cluster there. Let's square root that. And when I go to 2 decimal places, I'm getting 21.38. If we go to 2 decimal, anybody can agree with this? 21.38. That is what I'm seeing. Right, so once again, 9 plus the 448 will give us 457. We square root 457 and we get 21.38. So let's see what we have here now. Outside, a negative and a positive is a negative. So we have negative 3 plus or minus the 21.38, and we 2 by 4 is 8. This is what this whole thing boils down to. So now we're going to use the positive sign first. We're going to say minus 3 plus this, minus 3 plus 21.38, and we divide it by 8. Now remember, I told you how to put it up in brackets, otherwise the calculator will misinterpret. And now pay attention to the negative sign. Minus 3 minus 21.38 divided by 8. Remember, it's up to you to figure out how to type in the negative on your particular calculator, right? There's a difference between the subtraction sign on your calculator and the minus sign on your calculator. Some calculators have a separate sign, a separate button for typing in a negative number. Right. So let's work this out. Minus 3 plus 21.38 divided by 8. For my first answer, I'm getting 2. Well, you get 2.2975, right? But if you round this off the 2 decimal places, remember, if you add 1 to the 9, you'll get 10, and then you add 1 to the 2. So you get 2.30, roughly that. And for the second answer, in brackets, minus 3 minus 21.38 divided by 8, I'm getting minus 3.05. How much people could agree with those answers? Make sure you don't take down my answers. Work it on your calculator and make sure you see it, right? Now is the time to resolve it. Don't copy down, resolve it. For those who need a little refresher on the algebra, remember, maths are things like algebra and solving for X is regular, boring maths. So when you go on the school website, you will see the maths classroom in the menu. Look at here. It's real simple to use. It doesn't even have a password on it. Just go to the maths classroom, right? Right. So when I click on it, you will see a lot of things here, right? Recordings from last year and things. You ignore that. You scroll down, right, until you see maths syllabus topics. That's inside of the maths classroom. And look at all here, guys. For those who are having trouble with positive and negative numbers, go through lesson 1. Now, when I say go through lesson 1, just don't watch it and eat popcorn while you're watching it, right? Get involved in the video. Make proper notes. If you don't understand something, rewind, right? If you don't understand solving for X, go through lesson 2. These are key things, right? I realize that in most cases, some people don't understand that 2 negatives don't always make a positive. These things here will clear up those issues. Look at this here now. Let's say you want more practice on simultaneous equations. Go to lesson 3. It has substitution method, elimination method. You might want to brush up on the substitution method and do some more videos and practice. And how much of you think you need more practice on quadratics? So in the maths classroom, my advice is to go through lesson 1, 2, and substitution method in lesson 3 in detail. And if you want more practice on quadratics, let's look for quadratics. I'm scrolling down until I find quadratics. Everything laid out for you guys here, every single topic in maths. So quadratics, oh, look, quadratics here, guys. Quadratics is lesson 18, quadratics. If you want, what we just did was using the quadratic formula. You see the scary formula we use? Quadratic formula. So if you go to this video, you will get what? More examples and see me explain, in detail from scratch again. Everybody okay so far? Right? Great. So you all have all the resources, right? Right? So you guys have all the resources. It's just for you to make what? Use of it. And I know, again, a lot of questions, right? But I want to stay focused on what I'm talking about here. All right? And guys, as usual, I usually ask you guys to help me out. If you all have any friends or family who want to join into the summer program, we have so much space. I can't tell you how much space I have. Like I literally have 500 spaces available still. So if you know anybody, just tell them WhatsApp me. This is my number here. +1 868 712 2652. Just tell them WhatsApp me now and say fish, and I will add them to the program. It makes no sense. I have 500 seats available in class, and it wasting. I already paid Zoom to accommodate it, right? So guys, if you're all willing to help me out, I would appreciate it. And who wants to do one more game before we leave here today? Just one more before we leave. All right, let's do one more game and get out of here. All right. So you all know the rules by now, right? Right. So choose a letter, a number, and a color, right? With regards to not all the classrooms are unlocked. Only some classrooms are locked. If it's locked, it's because I don't want it unlocked. All right. So if you try to get into a classroom, like the history classroom, and it's locked, it's for a reason, right? So I won't be able to give out the passwords for those things. All right, so choices are coming in. People are choosing their numbers, letters, and colors. Let's go. Last one for the day. Let's see what's going in here. Music is sort of cool. First orb, 9 and 1. Those are the unlucky numbers. I hope you all are in the game still. Next orb, unlucky letters, P, Q, J, and U. And last, the unlucky colors are blue and purple. Did anybody who survived the last one? All right, congratulations to those who won. And for those who didn't win, good luck in the afterlife. All right, send me a postcard. All right, guys. So I have to give up the computer now for Miss, and she has Spanish. Everybody is welcome to come Spanish, even though it's a Form 2, Form 3 class. If Miss says that anybody who wants to do basics in Spanish, anybody who want to go back to the basics can come at 11:30. All are invited. Everybody. Okay? As for history, we don't do history lessons anymore. We did it last year, but we decided to drop it. All right. Bye, all. Right. And better luck next week with this game.